Welcome back to the channel. We're going to talk today about the actual strategy and plan behind making money, and specifically in this case, making money that you've not ever created evidence in the past that you've made. You see so many videos of how I made $1 million in X amount of time doing this. And I think that's fucking awesome. And that's amazing for the people who are doing it. What I don't see is how I plan to make this amount of money that I've never made before in this amount of time. The crazy thing behind it too is, just off the top, is I don't want you to think that I'm doing this out of some sort of flex or hustle. I honestly don't really think about money that much at all. I think about, what am I capable of? What is the way I can create evidence for myself that I am becoming the person I'm meant to become? And the person I'm meant to become is a wealthy person, someone who takes the action, does the work, is willing to wait for it, keeps my ears open more than my mouth, so that when the moment strikes, I'll trust myself to take it, right? And so we're going to talk a little bit about how I plan specifically to make $95,000 before the end of 2025. I'm recording this on August the 6th. Keep in mind, I may fail. Keep in mind that I've never done this before in this short amount of time. And so if you don't know who I am, by the way, I am Colby. And so I now run a community for founders, agency owners, freelancers, solopreneurs, just basically any entrepreneur who is stuck in complexity or stuck in stagnation, who's really trying to build something that feels really fully aligned with them, built on their self-trust, and that is able to kind of grow as they grow without scaling to the moon. So we use something called the U+2 model. It's just you, a virtual assistant, and a content assistant, because anything beyond that, you really turn into a people manager rather than actually someone who is creative, making things, right? And I like making things. So it's a business I run. It's a business I teach. Glad you're here. Let's actually kind of dive into how this came about. So if you have followed me for a while, by the way, I have ragged on specific money goals for a really, really long time. To be perfectly honest, I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm still trying to decide what setting a marker does for me. So if anything, this is a test. And the backstory behind that is that I not only managed a lot of money, but I didn't own it. I have been pretty terrible and had a fundamental distrust of money because I came from nothing. And then it was I couldn't ever hold on to it. I'm just now entering into the phase, which I'm not there yet, of where I can hold on to it. That's a whole other thing. When it comes to the money side of things, I really wrestled with, what is the point of the goal? Because I believe money isn't currency, it's energy. It flows to intent, it flows to purpose. And so my purpose with this dollar figure, 95K in 5 months, is to prove I'm capable of making 95K in 5 months. And so the business I have now is a community, right? It didn't start that way January 1st. It was just one-on-one offers for agency owners. And then I had a pivot when I realized, why am I helping agency owners scale when I don't believe in the agency model? Went into the woods, changed all my minds. And now I have the most amazing crew of people. We just got our 13th member in there as I record this. And they're building U+2 businesses. And I just feel fucking honored to be a part of that. And so kind of that one-on-one offer to now this community offer in the course of 7 months, long story short, 95K, right? I always want to be transparent with that. Again, it's not a flex. My goal was to actually make the same amount of money take home that I did at the agency. I've already done that in 7 months. And so everything else from here is just experimentation, see where it goes. What am I capable of? And so I absolutely wanted to set a marker. It's well, if I can make that dollar amount in 7 months, there's 5 months left in the year. Can I make it in 5? What I'm going to show you too, because you've just been seeing me talking head and all that sort of stuff, I'm going to kind of go into what I thought about it. And there's a couple of things I did with it. One is, I just really like to think in terms of I'm having a conversation with myself, right? Again, my business is built on self-trust, and another big factor is flow. So every single week I have a minimum of 15 hours of flow, and you want to call it deep work or whatever, but 0 interruptions. I'm just working on my big ideas, my values, my beliefs, and ways I can leverage that into messaging the world about what I believe in, how I think I can help them, the things that I want people to look out for as they're building their businesses, all that kind of stuff, and just being really transparent along the way, much like this video of, I'm still learning as I go. Flow is a huge part of it. Self-trust is the other one. And so I see that as the most trustworthy person I can speak to about any of the stuff in my business is me, right? I definitely have mentors, I definitely get help, but ultimately it comes down to me making the decision. And so I journal. right? In fact, this kind of came about from over a week ago now. I went to my local coffee shop, it's a block away. I started journaling, and I can actually pull that little entry up here. The first thing I did was I asked my, ChatGPT, Siri, whatever, I was like, how many weeks are left in the year? And at the time, there were 21 weeks left in the year. So now, as we sit here, there's about 20 left, right? So when I journaled, and of course, you can't read any of this sort of stuff, I think in terms of organization, in terms of where do things go, how can I make sure that all aspects of the business are moving forward by category. And so, long story short, I broke it down into categories. I want a test category, I want a client focus category, a video and written focus categories, and then a stretch/scary category of just like, what is something that is way the hell outside of my comfort zone that I can be doing in every single one of these sprints. And if there's 20 weeks left in the year, I was like, I'm going to have 4 5-week sprints, right? And that way I can have all these major ideas and all that sort of stuff. I can actually compartmentalize them so it's actually momentum based instead of a little bit here, a little bit there, where you're just being pulled in a million different directions. You're actually really focused on one thing at a time, the highest leverage thing at a time that will then compound, and then you can move into the next sprint, into the next sprint, right? And so as I went about this, I just kind of focused on the next, like, what would I do? What are all the things I want to do that I think I can do in 2025? And so I put them all by client focus. A lot of these are like modules for people inside the autonomy club and that kind of thing. Stretch and scary goals, there weren't that many there. Literally, for some reason, I'm still kind of nervous about reaching out to A players. That's mostly mental. I'm trying to rectify that every day. And so that's something I'll be working on. Testing and products, I see, if you want to see like the same thing for your business and whatever it is, regardless of if it's a service product, whatever, I highly recommend throwing at least 20% of what you make, or at least 20% of what is left over, throwing it at just testing in general. You don't fully have an idea of what you want to test it on. You just know that that money is spoken for testing, because in my experience, after helping 1,200 clients in the marketing world and now 50 founders in kind of the business ownership entrepreneur world, what I've learned is the number one thing that kills a business is not like the model, the service, whatever. It's complacency. It's that they get to a point where it feels really good, and then they take a deep breath and they stop doing the things that got them there. And then they wonder what the hell happened 6 months later when it dries up, right? And it's because they paused in the good moments instead of double down, triple down on that, right? And I find just having 20% of everything I earn being for testing a good way to avoid getting complacent. Like, I'm always trying to hit the next thing. I'm always trying to find the joyful, needle moving, way left field opportunity. And that's why the majority of inspiration I get for my business doesn't come from other business owners. It comes from people completely outside of the business world. People who are like actors, artists, like all that kind of stuff. Those are the things that influence me. And that's where I put a lot of that 20%, just to kind of be like, how can I meld this thing that's really inspiring to me that has nothing to do with my job and make it into something that can be uniquely mine, right? A good example is like I watched the movie Conclave a couple months ago, and I'm just obsessed with like the feeling I had while watching it. I still haven't cracked the code on how I want to use it, but that's where I start thinking of like, how can I incorporate inspirational pieces from this that I really liked and put it into, say, my branding, my identity, that kind of stuff, right? So anyways, that's long-winded. I highly recommend you always test. Then there is the video focus. Videos like this, definitely want to be recording one of these every single week. And then written focus, I absolutely love writing. Writing my email newsletter is my favorite thing as part of my business. If I could find a way to make all of my wealth just doing that, I probably would. That being said, I love these videos as well. So it's really 2025, aside from earning the same amount of money that I did at the agency, was the only other main goal was establishing a brand identity that I knew I was all in on by the end of the year. And I'm taking my time to like learn what feels good, what doesn't, throwing shit at the wall, what works, what doesn't. And that by the end of the year, I am fully confident that I'll have a unique brand, a unique voice, a unique point of view. And what does 2026 then yield? Okay, whatever we made in 2025, how can we more or less 5X that? Because we're done figuring out who we are. Now we're only concerned about just delivering maximum value to the people who need it, right? And so that's just kind of how I think about the business. But in general, while all this stuff is being demonstrated to you, I just looked at it in sprints. And so I put every single thing in there. And then I wanted to, I don't want to say optimize it, but focus it up so I knew exactly what to do. So I took all of these things and I used the tool Notion. I put every single thing in here and I put it into Notion. It's how I run my whole life. It's basically the most valuable tool I use. And as you can see, here's literally the video. Here's my plan for the video. Backstory, a little bit more backstory. And now we're into the plan phase. So as you can see, I don't script YouTube videos, right? But let's hop into the sprint, because what I did was I put every single one of these as tasks in there, and then I put them into that bucket, right? So there's a written focus, a video focus, the test offer, the stretch scary, the client/product, right? And so what I organized them in is basically, here's the bucket, and then my criteria I had for each sprint is that I need to have at least one thing from each bucket per sprint, right? And so if we actually look at this sprint now, you can see all of the various things by bucket that I'm planning on. So the stretch scary only has one thing, because if I reach out to even one mega person who gives me their time of day, that can drastically shift the trajectory of my business, right? So I don't need 10,000 scary stretch goals in there. I need one, right? Testing an offer, I have a handful of things. I'm working on the next workshop I want to do. I have a GPT that I think will honestly, it's a blend of like 7 GPTs that I think will basically rewrite the game. And that's coming from someone who wants to use AI to deepen human connection. I fully believe that on the other side of this GPTs to God mode, that's what's going to happen. And then of course, like the video focus. And for instance, on the written focus, I just finished my newsletter welcome series for anybody who subscribes to my newsletter, which you'll find that link down below, by the way. And so you can read these actual emails yourself. That was something that I literally started this sprint on Monday, 2 days ago. And 15 emails later, it is already done on August 6th. Now I just have to read through them again, make sure they sound like me and my voice. By the way, I don't use AI to write any content, nor should you. And then I'm going to put them into the actual automation, make sure it's all set up properly, test it, and then that will be done for this sprint. And I now know that I'll have a different written focus for the next sprint, but I'm basically good on the written focus side of things for this sprint, probably by the end of today, and we're only 3 days in, right? And so how I plan on making the 95K is honestly getting enough value to the clients, because I think one of the biggest leverage pieces you can ever have is just by having the most valuable possible product or service out there for what you do, right? And so instead of getting completely lost in acquisition strategy or ads or funnel this or whatever, I'll test those things. I literally look at ads and strategies as like testing stuff. What I know for a fact to be true is that if I continue to enhance the value of the products I already have for the people who are already there, A, they will stay, B, they will refer, and C, it will be very, very easy for me to just market the hell out of it by saying, here's what it actually is. Here's what it does for the people inside. It gets very, very low lift for me to have to convince anyone of anything. In fact, I don't honestly think I can convince or persuade anyone to do anything. My mission is to be present and add value. And so that's why the client product side has more than anything else in any of the other buckets, right? And so if this feels a little bit too philosophical, not enough tactical, I think you'll interpret it how you want. But to me, the money is going to come as a byproduct of taking actions that a person who can make 95K in 5 months would take. And that is literally it. The whole point of this is to create evidence, but systemize it in a way where it's like, I don't just want the 95K. Something that's been really resonant with my clients lately in our conversations one-on-one or in group is you don't get the thing by wanting it, right? In fact, one of my clients, we had our group call yesterday, had this amazing idea, has a clothing brand, launched this kind of loyalty program, and nobody hopped into it. And my response was, congratulations, you just had a failed launch, right? We don't get something by wanting it. And so what I see this video as being illustrative to you, you want something. You want to finish 2025 strong. You want to make the money. You want to make the connection with somebody. You want to change the trajectory of where you're headed with one little thing, or something you've been working on for a while that you're finally going to put out there. Whatever it is, just understand that the name of the game for that to actually mean something is to prove that you're capable of doing something you've never done before, right? And so for me, 95K, I could honestly care less if I hit the number or don't hit the number. What I do care about is that every single day I'm going to behave like someone who can hit that number. This is a business. This is life. It's messy. Not everything's in your control, but you can control how you attack things. And so if you have this vision board or you're manifesting that you want all this stuff, but you're not actually systemizing it and putting the work in to do it, you probably don't deserve it. So I hope this video helps. I highly encourage you to go ahead and check out my newsletter if you got value out of this. There's going to be a lot more value there. Just how I speak in these videos is exactly how I write, and so you're going to get that vibe right away. And I just want to thank you for your time, your energy, your attention. It is the most valuable resources you have available to you. And so thank you so much for giving them to me. I can't wait to see you in the next one.